know how to have really a Christian family to put Christ at the center. I call Didong to introduce our distinguished speakers. Galing pa sa Hong Kong to. Diba? Kauwilan nila kagabi.
Amoy siomay pa.
Amoy siomay pa daw, sabi ni Mona.
Okay, so our next talk will all be about the Christian family. Okay, the importance of marriage and the need to build Christian families because the family is the basic unit of our society. And of course, how to strengthen relationships between spouses and as parents assume the responsibility over our children. And we're really very privileged to have with us for this afternoon our couple, okay? Chris and Ted Chitty. They used to be the chapter head of BCBP Green Hills. Imported pa nga, sabi nga ni Francis, from Hong Kong. Okay? They're businessmen by profession and they are also marriage and family counselors. And they also practice clinical psychology. And they're very young, no? They've been in BCBP for 22 years pa lang naman. And they have a daughter, Micah, who is 23 years old. Please give a warm welcome to Chris and Ted.
Pagka pumapasok ko sa subdivision, and they ask, "Sir, anong pangalan nyo?" Chris D. Sabi niya, Chris T. who? So, let me introduce ourselves. I'm Chris, and she's Tepsi.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Alam nyo, sa BCBP, bawal na nakasimangot eh.
Walang kape.
Sino walang kape? Kulang sa kape. Okay, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. When we were young, the concept of love and relationships were often sugar-coated and romanticized. We would dream of perfect relationships like fairy tales that end with living happily ever after. Chris and I were two people who met in the JCs, who drifted from being acquaintances to friends, to good friends, to falling in love, and before we knew it, fell madly in love with each other in a span of few years. When I finally accepted this proposal for marriage, we were so sure that our partnership is no less than being made in heaven.
I'm the eldest of 7 siblings, 5 brothers and 2 sisters. When my parents died, I was just 17 years old, and my youngest brother was only 5. I was used to being the one who has his way, who decides everything. I was very independent.
I am the eldest of a modest size of a family of 4 siblings, 2 sisters and 2 brothers. I was used to being the one who had her way in the family.
I am a full-blooded Chinese and come from a family of businessmen.
I am a full-blooded Filipino and come from a family of politicians. My parents were very outgoing and often seen in social gatherings.
As a typical Chinese businessman, my parents were contented with having a very private and quiet family life.
As a typical Filipino politicos, my parents were very sociable. Our house was open to people from all walks of life, and they were usually filled with people seeking help and assistance. But also, there were well-to-dos who would drop by every now and then at our home.
Because my parents died early, as a teenager, I had a business, a car and money on my own. So I was like a kid in a candy store, going to parties, meeting girls, having relationships left and right.
Because I was the eldest and a girl, my parents were the strictest with me in terms of meetings and dating boys.
I grew up in Makati.
I grew up in Bulacan.
I lost my parents at the young age of 17, so I did not have parental supervision since then.
I grew up in a close-knit family and was very close with my grandparents, especially my lolo.
I love to cook and experiment in the kitchen. It relaxes me.
I love to eat, but don't like to cook. Okay, I don't even like being in a kitchen.
I have a quirk. I do not like eating chicken since I was young. There was a time I hated everything about eating chicken. From the smell to the texture it feels on my tongue, yung lansa. Sometimes I can't even stand it when there's there's a chicken in the dining table.
I love chicken. I cooking it in any other way. Okay, yummy. Max was our Sunday family meal favorite. I love KFC. He can't even understand the difference between Jollibee's and McDonald's fried chicken.
I introduced her to eating vegetable and fish.
Well, I introduced him to eating chicharon and potato chips.
I buy what I need when I shop. I buy what I need, and you can leave me in a bookstore, and I can be there for hours. But going from shop to shop, it's hard for me.
I love shopping. There was even a time I was almost like a shopaholic.
We're about 10 years apart in age.
And that's a generation apart.
She's the one older. And
Oy!
we got married full of hope and dreams, building a great family together. We got into this with our eyes wide open. We knew that there were some differences between us, but it should not be big enough to affect our new level of relationship. We never realized that the small things would affect us so much.
Chris is literally a warm body. He likes the cold, so he often sleeps without a blanket. While I need to be fully covered with thick blanket. In the bathroom, we had to adjust little things like where to squeeze the toothpaste, the middle or the tip. We had to adjust even in the way we organize things.
It wasn't that bad. We also had good similarities. We had common aspirations and dreams for our new family. We survived our days enjoying our simple joys that make us smile each day. We agree on how we want to bring up our children, for example.
However, looking back, it is hard to imagine how we survived the first few years with such diverse backgrounds. We did not realize that we had so much differences than similarities. Even our similarities were not good for our harmonious relationship. Our being both panganays, okay, was not a good similarity. Even our CFAM training have taught us that two firstborns as couples are the worst combination because both are usually used to getting their way and stubborn. You cannot have two leaders in one family unit and expect that things gonna run smoothly, especially when both prefer different directions.
You can say that we were worlds apart, opposite poles, north and south. Even the place we lived as far north as Bulacan and as south as Makati.
Okay. What then was the secret of staying power as a couple? We had a secret ingredient in our lives. Christ in our lives. To this day, we attribute this to our harmonious relationship as a couple and as a family. This was my gift to Chris 2 years ago.
November 12. Well, 2 years after we got married. That's November 12, 1993 is our wedding day. So 2 years, right? 2 years after, she stitched this, and until today, it is in our headboard in our bed, in our bedroom. So it says, "Marriage takes three. I once thought that marriage took just two to make a go, but now I am convinced it takes the Lord also, and not one marriage fails where Christ is asked to enter, as lovers come together with Jesus at the center. But marriage seldom thrives, and homes are incomplete till He is welcome there to help avoid defeat. In homes where Christ is first, it's obvious to see those unions really work, for marriage still takes three." In Matthew chapter 9 it says, "But Jesus gazing at them said, with men this is impossible, but with God everything is possible." I guess judging from here, how many know Masters and Johnsons? Ito to. How many are old enough to know that? The joys of sex. Isa lang aamin. Okay? There are so many manuals to talk about sexuality and marriage and couples, working together, working perfectly together. But believe it or not, there's one book that is best for all of that. And it's one that God wrote Himself. The title is the Holy Bible. Sometimes among many speakers before us, they have said that the Bible is the instructional manual for us humans who do not come with a user's manual for almost everything that we do. Sabi nga nila, Bible daw stands for basic instructions before leaving earth. And this goes through for marriages and family.
Marriage and family are counted among the most precious of human possessions. Families are the basic units of human society, and the well-being of the individual person and of both human and Christian society is closely bound up with a healthy state of conjugal and family life.
As an institution created by God, there are many quotations in the Bible that give importance to couples. The Lord, in Genesis chapter 2, the Lord said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a suitable partner for him." Matthew chapter 19 says, "For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and cling to his wife, and the two shall become one." Matthew chapter 19 also, verse 6 says, "Thus they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, let no man separate what God has joined." Genesis chapter 1 says, God blessed them, saying, "Be fertile and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it." Regarding relationship with the husband-wife, guys, listen to this. Lamang tayo dito. Wives should be submissive to their husbands, as if to the Lord, because the husband is the head of his wife, just as Christ is the head of his body, the church.
Okay. This was not easy for me to be submissive, considering that I grew up being the big ate in my family of origin. I was the ate to my 3 younger siblings and even the ate to my mom and my dad. It was not easy for me because I'm a strong-willed person. But it is easy for me because the day I married Chris, I already offered my whole self to him because of my love for Chris, and now because it is God's will.
Nakita ko yung ngiti ng some of the guys here. But don't be too happy. There's the other side of the coin. It says,
Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. He gave himself up for her. Husbands should love their wives as they do their own bodies.
that's in Ephesians chapter 5. Not easy for me either, because I got married late in life. I was almost 40. And I was used to single life. No consulting anyone for anything or any decisions in my life. Pag yung barkada tumawag, tara, I go. Any money I save is for myself alone. I don't even consider anyone else's opinion when I make decisions. Para gut feel, lahat. No sharing of my time with anyone unless I want to. I go anywhere I want, wherever I want, with whoever. As even before, as a Bachelor JC National Officer, I was traveling throughout the Philippines at whim. In fact,
This passage doubtless reflects features of the prevailing understanding of marriage, according to which women were subordinated to men. Yet it also bursts through any patriarchal understanding of marriage. It speaks of the love and self-surrender of spouses, and so of mutual subordination.
So God is not saying that we get our way as men as men when He said wives should be submissive, with the added clause of us loving our wives as we do our own bodies. In marriage, it is mutual subordination.
Mutual and loving fidelity presupposes the fundamental equality of partners in marriage, firmly established in the Lord. The unity of marriage will radiate from the equal personal dignity of wife and husband, a dignity acknowledged by equal and total love. By doing so, as a wife, I never felt less equal nor less important as a human being. With the love, respect, and care I have been receiving from Chris, I can feel God's blessings in my life through our marriage. He has never made me feel inferior to Him. I am loved by Chris and by God. I am well loved.
The church does not want a subjection of wife to the husband's dictates. Her teaching is that there must be a subordination in love that's under Christian morals of the laity.
All these years, we still encounter situations when we both felt strongly about our own stand on views and opinions. There were times when things being submissive is challenged. When in such situations and experience dead ends, I would just usually keep deep breaths. Wives, this is my secret, okay? Pagka talagang nakakainis na, tapos biglang mag-haunt sa'yo, be submissive, be submissive. Ang gagawin ko lang ako, hihinga ng malalim, okay. Basta, ikaw bahala kay Lord, ha?
Ako accountable kay God. St. Paul carried this principle of equal rights into the home. For the wife does not rule over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not rule over his own body, but the wife does. That's the first book of Corinthians.
You know, I am His and He is mine.
God does not mean that we start off getting possessive and feel that we own the other, but rather for us to value the other as if our own. When we do this, we tend to focus on the needs of the spouse and always wanting to do what is comfortable or pleasing to him or her. Being aware of this, we start to understand the difference between being possessive and which leads to jealousy, and being protective and value your partner, which leads to cherishing and loving her, which leads to continuous growing of love and care of each other as the years go on. This you will continue to learn when you join the BCBP under the BCMR, the marriage retreat, where all these will be polished off a little more.
Now, let's talk about the Christian family. Okay? God made the married state the beginning and foundation of human society. Okay? The apostolate of married persons and of families has a special importance for both the church and the civil society. I think it is about building a family that is centered in Jesus Christ, always mindful of God's presence and rely on His great plan for each and every one of us in the family.
Christian couples are for each other, for their children, cooperators of grace and the witness of their faith.
The biggest challenge to married life is not being a wife nor being a husband, but rather how to make sure that our children will follow God's footsteps. I believe that each child is a gift from God, and how we raise them, each one is as Christ's individual, is our gift back to God.
Parents have the obligation to pass on the faith and to educate them in it. They are to accomplish this by word and example. They offer them wise guidance in their choice of vocation.
Let me share with you something about, we have 3 daughters. Actually, hindi po isa, tatlo. Okay? Our 3 daughters, when my eldest child was in high school and the 2 younger ones were in elementary, I remember over dinner, the 2 younger ones were saying, "Mommy, how come Achi's friends," Achi is ate in Chinese, okay? "How come Achi's friends, they always say bad words when they're out sa dismissal daw?" And you know, Mom, we never heard Achi say bad words. So I was kind of happy to hear that my daughter was not influenced with the barkada, which was an in thing that time. You know, now the 2 younger ones grew up, and we were having this talk about many things. And then we were reminding them about mga moral values. And then one of the things said, "Mommy, come on! We know all of that. You know, in school, we're already known as the D sisters. And once they see us coming, they would do like that." And then, what do you mean by that? It means that every time we approach them, the D sisters are here, D sisters. It means that no one's supposed to say bad words in front of them. Wow! Kulit ako doon kasi hindi ko na-monitor yon, and I was impressed that they are known for that. Meaning, they are able to rub off the things that they learned in the house, in their school, in their barkada. You know, even one PTC in school, when my eldest daughter was 4 years old, I remember during the PTC, or the teacher is supposed to share something. The teacher cried in front of me. Sabi ko, "Bakit po kayo umiyak? Meron bang ginawa anak ko? Ganyan, ganyan." "Hindi po." Then she kept on crying, "Kasi we feel so blessed having Micah in our class." So I couldn't say anything, but deep inside, I thank God for blessing us with such a child. You know, also in another PTC, when the 2 younger ones were already in elementary, the 2 teachers from separate classes, the 2 advisors, they met us sabay. Sabi niya, "Mom, we just want to talk to you na. You know, in the whole time that I've been in this school, this is the first time that we encountered siblings who really take care of each other." Sabi ko, "What do you mean?" Sabi niya, "You know, the other one wait for the other person, and then if the other one is sick, she would accompany her, and she would, you know, we've not seen that kind of relationship that in school. Because siblings, usually they fight now in school. Even twins, they fight against each other. But this is the first time they've seen a sibling really taking care and loving each other." I'm not bragging, but I'm just grateful that we are blessed with such, and it just reflects that it's Christ living inside them.
Now, there's another sensitive topic that usually we do not notice very much. It is very prevalent today, more than any time, because of our society becoming more modern than before. Families are under attack without them knowing it. There are thoughts today of alternative religions disguised as humanist. Secular humanism is revived from the old days. The New Age, if you hear about the New Age, where logic has to explain everything, from how creation began, whether there's a God or not. There's Scientology. It's very much promoted because of many celebrities that have endorsed this. You know, it's not bad when a celebrity endorses Colgate or whatever, no? But not because it's how can you say that a celebrity knows best, no? But then it sells toothpaste, it sells wardrobe, bench, and all that, no? But when it comes to religion, you have celebrities like Tom Cruise, John Travolta, Oprah, all of them have been now espousing the New Age thinking that has now seeped through our thinking, that everything has to be explainable and not by faith. Me, myself, I do not pretend to know everything. Theology is a very deep and hard to understand philosophy. It takes years of research to be able to do that. I don't think any of us have the time to be able to do that. So sometimes it's just a matter of making a decision. To me, those that I cannot explain, I refer to the Vatican. The Pope, the Vatican, who I trust, who spends every day praying and researching. They have a whole country of people in search of the truth from the Lord's researches. So to me, anything that I cannot fill up, that fills it up. No? Instead of believing in my own logic to be able to finalize a decision. There's the other attack on, which is stemmed from our being in today's society, the economic pressures.
Okay. Before we go to the economic, okay, we wish to cultivate the development of a responsible attitude towards sexuality, in which humans are not exploited as sexual objects, which intimacy, sensitivity, respect, and honesty is in interpersonal relations are encouraged. Modern education for children, adults, is an important way of developing awareness of sexual maturity. Okay? You know, this is quite challenging for us, Chris, kasi we have 3 daughters. And since our children are no longer children, teenagers developing into young adults, we are so worried and not to be too relaxed as a Christian parent. So Chris and I had called, we usually have this called family date, okay, but with a specific agenda to talk about our family expectations. Since all of them are girls, we told them that, you know, one of the things that we talk about is we made it clear. We made it clear. Please, remain a virgin until the day you get married. Okay, that was our point to them. But, you know, it's up to now we still continue to remind them about this because this is an introduction to the idea of the sacredness of marriage, and we will continue to inject this more ideas to that direction as they get older. You know, as a family counselor, I understand the different effects of our society to our children and how they are influenced by the people around them. As simple as magkaroon lang ng isang boyfriend na ganyan, sasabihin na mahal-mahal, patay na, sira na lahat ng ilang taon naming inaingatan at binavalue. But still, that's where God comes in. The important thing is, we might malagay sa kokote nila, virginity is important. Why is it important? Again, I will tell you more about virginity after Christ.
Okay. So the next is the economic pressures. Economic pressures have added to the woes of the family. Millions more were and are disrupted by mothers being forced to work. Even more babies and children were and are being deprived of good parenting. The number of babies and children who are now deprived of good family life is increasing geometrically.
When a child is denied good parenting, he develops personal disturbances of one kind or another. He passes these psychological difficulties to his children, and ultimately society loses its vitality as a number of disturbed people increases. Okay. In relation to that, okay, we don't want to be the kind of parents who are very active in church or in the community, tapos nakalimutan naman yung mga bata. So, this always parang nag-impact sa akin when I have a friend who is a 32-year-old lawyer. She's a girl and she was having problems at time. It seems that she was having sex to different men since she was 16 years old. She had sex with almost all her male friends. So she was in a dilemma at one point in her life when she couldn't understand why guys won't take her seriously. to her surprise, it was only when she reached 30s, that she found out about the value of virginity. She said, you know, nobody taught her the value of respecting one's body, because she thought sex was just part of one's daily activities, because all her barkadas were also doing that. And it was in the environment that she was staying in. Because both parents were busy serving in the parish, and at the same time, both busy working. So, the concept of virginity, sabi niya, she had to research what is virginity and why is it sacred. So, to her surprise, no, that's the time that she naintindihan na niya why guys would always call her, oh, are you available? Let's go out tonight for lunch or for coffee. Tapos gano'n na kagad. So, kala niya that's part of having friends.
So, what can we do to be able to prevent this? First, is I think the most important is to make a decision. Decide if you want your family to live in an environment of Christian life. This will give you a sense of peace. God's protection and peace is different. When you leave your faith to God, He will protect you and truly believe it. You will naturally feel peace with you. There will be marriage stability. When you put God at the center of your marriage, your perspective changes, your priorities change, and things just fall into place.
This is, okay. I believe that Christian values are not only important, not only in beliefs and principles, but also, more importantly, in the acts we make. This story is something very sacred to me, but I think it's worth sharing. I shared this during the last year. Okay. One time, our whole family visited our brother Tony Gomez, okay, an old member. And my children kasi saw him, my children, while they were growing up, they were always with Tito Tony, considering he was in our action group. It was during we visited him in the ICU, and it was during his low moments, we saw how frail he was and not in his upbeat spirit. Okay, he had cancer that time. He had cancer. Our kids made theirs. We get posters and posted it on the hospital wall. Dami nilang posters for him. And later that evening, one of our daughters, si Cara, I guess she was about 14 years old at the time, 14 or 15 at the time. She talked to me and said, Mommy, can I talk to you? Yeah, sure, but I'm going to the park. Can I walk with you to the park? Yeah, sure. So I thought she had a big problem. You know, she talked to me and said, Mommy, is it okay if I give my money to Tito Tony? Kasi she was saving her life savings siya to buy a gadget that time. Sabi ko, I was so humbled as I listened to her. She said she just wants to help Tito Tony. And the following day, I went to the hospital. I handed the money to Tony. And of course, Tony would not accept it. But I told him, Tony, you know, please, allow the child to show her love for you. Sabi ko sa kanya, it's just a small amount, but let her love you. And Tony was crying that time. I recall how tears fell from Tony's eyes, and I was moved, and I thank God for allowing me to witness His love, God's living inside our daughter's heart. I believe kasi it's not only in name that we should be called Christians. We should not be because we're part of a group that we are called Christians. I think the important thing is we act like one. And the most important task for families, for parents, is how can we impart the same beliefs and understanding to our children. I think that is the biggest challenge. And for someone to act it on her own without anyone telling her, parang makes you feel happy as a mother.
Actually, the effect was more for Cara than for Tony. You know, it helped make her a better person. The next is to schedule your priorities to ensure the family has time together. In one of our retreats, Father Dennis shared with us how he cherished the moments his mom spent with him. Made him feel as if he was the favorite, even if there were many siblings, just because they had time together. I reflected that time that when I grew up, my parents would always want to value the being equal, taking care that he doesn't show more love to one than the other. So we grew up now as brothers and sisters, needing to be equal in everything. No, walang lamangan na, dapat dito mas marami kaysa dyan. Whereas Tetsu's family is different. They even show favoritism sometimes on one side to the other. No, baliktad. No? So there's no much emphasis on being equal in everywhere. So I reflected on that, and I said, after that, I decided I would have dates with my daughters one at a time. So may schedule, I'll date one out, kung ano gusto niya, movies, or the other one wants shopping, sasamahan ko sa shopping. The other one wants sports, okay, we'll go there. So they plan out the day with me. You know, that's my advantage with having 3 girls. I'm the only guy in the family. I date 4 women at one time. 3 girls and 1 woman.
Wala na, di ba? Okay. Schedule frequent family recreations, outings, movies, eating out, okay? You know, when we were newly couple, we made it a point, we agreed, we said, we don't want our kids to find happiness in the mall. So we created this thing called family night. When Chris says, tonight is family night, alam na ng mga bata yon. Si Papa would cook salsa, and then we'll have chips, and then movie night the whole night in the house. That's our family bonding time. And the children, they really look forward to that. Another thing is praying together. Okay, you know that the family that prays together stays together.
We pray regularly together. Especially, we started off with just meal times, no? Just meal times. We just rotate who leads the prayer. And inside the prayer, if we have the time, especially in our family dinners, we use the time to express supplication. So whatever they want to pray for, they will express it right before meal time. No, so the advantage of that is we notice that after that, whenever we pray individually, we know what our kids individually want to pray for, and they know ours. So when they pray themselves, they also pray, ask for what we need to pray for. So whether it's group prayer or individual prayer, then it's still similar. We're incongruent when we ask the Lord. Sabi nga ni Lord, that when 2 or more are agree on what to pray for, it shall be granted by your heavenly Father.
The rosary has been a common bind as a family. We would always pray the rosary. It has been a source of strength and comfort. We do not only pray for our petitions, but they have learned to be intercessors for others in our community, especially in the PCDP, ever since they were in preschool. You know, so when we joined, they were really, I was pregnant, they grew up. So every night, every time meron tayong petition, please pray for like that and like that. And then they would really include that, please pray for tito ganyan, ganyan. Tapos nagugulat sila after a few months, nawawala yung pinipray nila. So hindi ko masabi, namatay na. So it was kind of difficult, and then they were asking me, why? Didn't God listen to our prayers? No, He did, but we still have to continue praying for other people. But the thing is, they learned that to pray for other people. So I think that's worth encouraging them.
That's the other side of the coin. Yung mga answered prayer naman strengthens them. You know? In fact, sometimes when we have problems, sila yung nag-remind na when they were still young, maliit pa, sabi nila, Papa, I think we need more prayers. Confident sila that it happens. So, the family that prays together stays together, sabi nga ni Father Peyton dati, no? When they see their parents having strong conviction about their faith, they would also. When they do become And when they do, they become ideal Christians also. They naturally become good children with good communication and interaction with their parents. Next is to participate in church services and activities together with the family. We're also very fortunate. We have the St. Andrew Church where we are active also in our own way. As parents, assuming your obligation as educators to teach your young Christian faith and value firsthand.
Now, we move on to the next one. Challenges. Okay, we have a lot of that. One has to be done to accomplish this Christian environment for your family. Living as a Christian family is demanding. Okay? In the same way, since I had been working with the less privileged children who were sexually abused, I work in a center children who were sexually abused, even children who have cancer and their families in PGH and in other centers, I sincerely ask all my children's commitment that by this one I really made them promise. Sabi ko sa kanya, since you're all going through your own path as professionals, okay, can you please promise me one thing? I asked them, please, by the time you are earning, always make sure that you will always think about the poor and do something for the poor, serve them in whatever profession you're in. It's not like an excuse that you don't have money, but always serve the poor. I want them to do.
Actually, in fact, even our daughters sometimes when they spend their birthdays, sometimes they would say, let's just go around and buy some McDonald's and just go around, and they just take pleasure in giving out food under the bridge or anywhere we go. In fact, for the past few Christmases, we have been perfecting our Noche Buena with the less fortunate. Right, the last few years we've targeted PGH, the cancer ward. So before we go to our Noche Buena with the family, we would do that as a family. Our dining area is like a catering service, no? Then we bring it ourselves. And since it's Christmas, no driver, the maids are all off. So only 5 of us, me driving the van and we going there, finishing that. This year we found out that McDonald's has a catering service pala. If you call in early, they'll pack it all ready for you in wonderful boxes. They call it Gold. I forgot what Gold stands for. GOLD. You can go to a branch. They're just ready to go. Wala nang masyadong pawis to go through that.
So, there's a video that I think is very important. Okay, let's watch. Let's just watch.
So we end with where we began. Tetsi and I, we started as two people, so different in upbringing, different in some important concepts that we don't agree, in habits, and in likes and dislikes. Maybe you can relate with us in this aspect as married couples. We were worlds apart in most ways, yet we have more than survived the more than 20, almost 25 years of marriage and raising a family. The secret of being true Christians, putting Christ and His values in our lives, taking the headship in our domestic church called our home, by living His ways in our families. Much is expected of us as families. The decision is yours to make. No one else can do that for you. So what is your decision? But remember, Christ is counting on you.
Thank you very much.
Chris, Tetsi, maraming salamat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're now going to break into a group. No? One discussions, snack will be served.